Hello and welcome to Wednesday for another day in our time capsule writing lessons. Today you're going to be writing a letter to your future self. So your letter is obviously going to start dear and then you, because you're writing to you in 10 years time or 15 years time or whenever you've decided to open up your time capsule. So I'm going to write mine to myself. Sam. So that's what we're doing today. The grammar for today is all about capital letters. Just checking that you're using capital letters in all the places that you need to when you're doing your Year 6 writing. So have a go at the grammar lesson first for today. There's also a checklist on the website about what you need to include in your letter. Sorry, I'm just moving something slightly so I can see it better. Yeah, so what you'll need to include in your letter is a short introduction just to remind your future self about what happened 10 or 15 years ago in 2020. And you'll need to explain to your future self what it's been like to be in lockdown, at home, doing home learning, not going to school, not being able to see your friends, maybe only talking to your friends by email or by text or by Skype or FaceTime or something like that, only being able to go out once a day for some exercise, maybe a walk or a run or a cycle ride. So you'll be describing that to your future self, reminding your future self, because in 10 or 15 years time, although I'm sure you'll remember this period of time, you might not remember all the information, all the details about it. So it'll be really interesting for you to read this letter and go, oh God, goodness, I'd forgotten about that. I forgot we had to do that. Oh yeah, and I remember I used to love that. I'd forgotten about that. So that's what we're doing today. We're writing a letter to our future self. So I would have probably my address up here, which is also on the checklist, but I'm not going to write it because I haven't got space. So I'd have my address up here, the name of my street and the fact that I live in Worthing and my postcode, because in 10 or 15 years time you might be living somewhere completely different. And then I would also have today's date. So I'm just going to write that in the short date up here for now, so that I don't forget that, the 13th of May. So I'm going to have a little introduction first, just to remind my future self about what went on in 2020. So I'm going to start. You may, no, I'm not going to start like that actually. You may. I don't know if you remember. I tried to get a new pen, but I'm still not sure it's that great. I don't know if you remember, but 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, whether you've decided, that's like a fronted adverbial, isn't it? So I need my comma. 10 years ago, oh, I'm going to do a bit of parenthesis actually, when you were 11, let's say, although I'm writing to myself, aren't I? I'm not pretending I'm a child, I'm writing to me. So I'm just going to leave a blank there. You can guess what age you think I am, although my class probably know. I don't know if you remember, but 10 years ago when you were, we all had to stay at home. For quite a long time. And I'm not going to write all this up here, I'm going to do ... But I would say, I don't know if you remember, but 10 years ago when you were, we all had to stay at home for quite a long time to help reduce the risk of spreading a contagious virus, called coronavirus, you could say. So let me think about what's on my checklist. Conjunctions, relative clauses for extra information. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use a subordinating conjunction here. Although it was hard at times, I also, sorry, my pen is dreadful, I also enjoyed some, it's really windy today, I'm actually recording this ahead of time actually, so it might not be windy on Wednesday. It's really windy today. I can hear everything blowing around in the street. I also enjoyed some of my experiences, I'm going to write there, but I'm just put EXPs for short. Because on the checklist I've written, talk about what you found hard about it and talk about what you enjoyed about it. Because if you're like me, there have been things you found hard, but there are probably also things you've quite enjoyed about being at home, doing your home learning, being in lockdown. And also I've put on the checklist, think about what you might have learned as a result of this experience. That's a harder thing to think about, but if I think about it, I think there are definitely things I've gained and I've learned from this experience. Maybe realising sort of small pleasures that in the past we took for granted. I know a couple of you have said in your emails to me you feel like you maybe took school a bit for granted now, and now you feel like, oh, I would so love to be back at school and I wouldn't take it for granted anymore. So maybe there are small pleasures that we used to take for granted, like just going and sitting on the beach and reading a book, or having a picnic in the park or on the beach with your family, that you just used to do it without thinking, or just walking into town and, you know, popping into a cafe for a drink and then maybe popping into a shop to buy a magazine. All those kinds of things that you're not able to do in the same way anymore. So hopefully the things on the checklist will help you, give you some ideas about what to put in your letter to your future self. So have fun with that today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.